big win last year. So we, like a lot of upstream oil and gas, we were divesting a lot of properties, to where the sale proceeds would be used to reduce debt, which is our biggest Achilles heel, as is a lot of our peers. We discovered it was very difficult to sell assets when you couldn't find the information about them. So because we'd grown by acquisition from bits and pieces of other companies over the years, we never really spent the time and money to integrate all that information. So it was all disparate sources. It was some in paper, some electronic, some in databases, some not. And as we were trying to sell these things on short notice a lot of times, the fact that we couldn't have assured completeness of the record actually limited your ability to sell them or reduced your price because it was additional risk. So this got to the CEO's attention, who historically has been a good upstream oil and gas guy, where the money's to be made by the plays, not the internal services. Suddenly, the quality of information management became much more relevant to the whole business strategy and operations. So that turned into a fairly concerted effort to improve our information governance and the processes around that. So we've got a fairly active program now on our information management or enterprise content management tied into our database systems, and really data quality management's a much bigger thing now from the executive team on down.
I think the interesting places I see technology coming in our industry tend to be more on the SCADA front. So like you're saying, you use the information that you're gathering already and just centralizing it in a meaningful way, and then using BI to pull out some details. I think once we get to the difference I see between here and my work in Europe was they've been lean for a lot longer as well, because we haven't had the oil and gas throwing money out the window, I think it was. So they do far more preventative technology so that you don't have to do the maintenance. So perhaps if you could turn the turnaround down by 2 days, you'd start getting operational interest because of the money that you're saving there. So I think from the south, certainly, the only really market changing stuff I've seen has been in that area, taking the data the field's producing and doing the same with it.
On the Salesforce side, we are investing heavily in AI stuff, so that in 2 to 3 years, the system is going to be helping drive a lot of behavior that we're looking for, right? So for example, you have a spreadsheet that says, here are the 10 things you need to do today. It doesn't necessarily mean that people are actioning them or these are the right 10 things, where it's kind of like, how do you mine the data and say, look, here are the 10 things that make sense, here's what best practice is, and here's what we should be prompting our people to be kind of working towards. And I even think of like the loads of SCADA data that is basically just a massive data repository. What are those things that can help with the efficiencies of the what that data potentially could provide for the organization, right? Because there's real money there. It's just unlocking it.
One of the things that's happening again now that it did the last 3 or 4 downturns, we're repeating what we did in years past. The oil industry had lots of money and companies did irrational things to try and stay ahead and grow and be faster and better than their competitor, which meant throwing money out the window. Money, the cost was not the issue, it was getting the next property, the next find, and moving ahead. Then a crunch happens. Now, while they're throwing money out the window, what do you think IT's doing? We're just trying to keep up and survive and deliver services in the same way. So we're becoming more expensive. Then in the downturn, they look at, and they don't have the revenue coming in, and our expensive ways of doing things, keeping up with them, now have to change. So we bring everything back down, we get cost control, we get proper review of projects and return on investment. And then the next cycle starts like this, and we do it again. They're no longer interested in the return on investment in IT because it doesn't matter compared to the rest of the business. This is one key thing we have to try and change, is that all the time, return on investment and IT investment needs to be rational and consistent, not following this cyclical price of oil.